Blackity blue! Woo-hoo-hoo! A simple hello would do. Thank you very much.
How are you?
Good.
Nice to meet you. My name is Matthew Lish. I am the lead puppet and prop builder for Disney's Winnie the Pooh, the new musical stage adaptation produced by Rockefeller Productions in association with Disney Theatrical Productions. And I'm also the puppet and prop coordinator for the show. And I'm here to talk to you today a little bit about our show.
That's like a lot of woo.
It is a lot of words.
We saw the Winnie the Pooh musical this weekend in New York, and we absolutely loved it.
Well, thank you so much for coming to see the show. We're really glad you guys made it out to the 100-acre woods, and thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm really happy to be here.
I've seen you've been involved with Sesame Street and different shows with puppets. So how did you get involved with Winnie the Pooh?
Well, that's a very good question. So one of my friends, one of my puppet building friends that I met a long time ago, was working on the project, and he invited me on to be a puppet builder. And that was at the beginning of 2021, so about a year ago at this point. And I joined the team, and yeah, we just kind of hit the ground running and started building puppets. I went from puppet builder to eventually taking on the role of lead builder and overseeing all of the puppet builds and all of the props built for the entire show.
Did you have any challenges making these puppets?
The puppets were really, really complicated to make and for us to figure out. So I think the hardest part is that, Winnie the Pooh is 95 years old. Winnie the Pooh and Tigger and Piglet and Eeyore and Rabbit and Owl, they were all introduced to the public in 1926. So they've been around for a really, really long time. And because they've been around for a really long time, people have expectations as to what they're supposed to look like. So people have a very, very clear idea in their head of what Winnie the Pooh is supposed to be like. So for example, when you think about Winnie the Pooh, in your head, he's going to be yellow and wearing a red sweater, right? So I think our big challenge, taking these characters that you most of the time see on a movie theater screen or on your TV screen or on an iPad or on the computer, taking them from the two-dimensional world to the three-dimensional world and making them real things, while at the same time making sure that they still look like people expected them to look like, so they would be recognizable as the characters. So finding that balance was probably the hardest part of the whole thing.
Did you have a crew to work on the puppets with?
So each puppet takes a few months from start to finish to build because each one is entirely done by hand. And we have an amazing team of artists who work on the puppets, and they sew and they sculpt and they paint, they weld, all of these different art skills and design skills. All these things come together to make a final puppet. But each puppet takes about 3 or 4 months to build, and takes lots and lots and lots of different people's skills and hands to make the final thing that you saw on stage the other day.
From any of the experience from working on Sesame Street and other shows, did that help you with making these puppets?
Yeah, of course it did. Everything that I've had the opportunity and been very fortunate to work on in the past has helped me with creating the puppets and working on this show here for Rockefeller Productions and Disney Theatrical Productions. So on Sesame Street, I worked at Jim Henson's Creature Shop on the puppets. And so I learned a lot there. I used to work as a Walt Disney Imagineer down at the Walt Disney World Resort in Florida, helping design and build the theme parks. So that introduced me to really working with, the Disney brand and working with the Disney intellectual properties. So all of my previous work experiences, I'm so grateful for what they've taught me and how they've helped me in this job here today.
Are there any Easter eggs or special things in the show that some people might not notice?
That's a very good question. So I love Easter eggs. Easter eggs are those little things that, that the super fans can spot and they could see, oh, I recognize that from somewhere else. So I will say, if you've seen any of the Winnie the Pooh movies, and there have been a lot of different Winnie the Pooh movies over the years, right? You can pretty much see them all on Disney+. If you've seen those Winnie the Pooh movies, you might be able to spot a familiar song from those movies in our show.
For either the puppets or the set, has you or your crew added anything special? You told me about how you want people to see what they look like from the cartoons, but did you add anything special for the 3 dimension?
Yeah, we added a lot. We added a lot of special things that you could really only, take in when you're in a theater. So we wanted to make sure that everything had like a really fun texture to it, so you could see that difference in textures from the audience. So Pooh is one type of shaggy fur, and Tigger is a different type of shaggy fur, and Kanga and Roo look like they're made out of like a burlap fabric. So we added all these little details in the materials that we picked for things, so that when you saw them on stage, you would be like, wow, that's really cool. They're real. They exist in my world. They're alive. They're on stage.
Yeah, because what I noticed is like in the cartoons it looked like this. It was all cartoon, but in the play it looked like how it would look in real life. It would look like a teddy bear. Right.
So we wanted to really make sure that audiences like you, Juliet, when they came to the show, they felt that, these characters are real. Like when you saw Pooh on stage, that was really Winnie the Pooh, that was really Tigger, and they are. And we did our best with the puppets to make them really, really come to life as real living things.
So I noticed for some of the puppeteers, there were different ways they had to move around, different ways they had to move around them. Like I know for Winnie the Pooh and for Winnie the Pooh, people would have shoes that attached to them, and then they'd have hands. But I remember for Piglet and the kangaroo baby that I forgot their name.
Roo, yeah.
They were controlled by just stuffed animals like this, and then they had puppet mouths.
Yeah.
How did you find different ways for them to walk and everything?
That's a really excellent question. So we watched the movies, and we watched everything, all the source material where we've seen these characters before and where these characters originated, and we watched how they moved. How do they like to get around, and also how big are they? And so we realized pretty quickly that for certain characters like Winnie the Pooh and for Tigger and for Rabbit, that we really need to have their feet, walking like that, kind of like a human would walk, because that's kind of how they walk in the cartoons. So we figured, okay, what's the best way to do that? Well, the easiest way to do that is to just strap them to the performer, is strap them to the puppeteer. And because the height difference between the character and the puppeteer is not that different, we figured this would work out really, really well. And then for other characters, like you mentioned Roo, who's Kanga's son Roo, little kangaroo, and Piglet, Winnie the Pooh's best friend. We looked at their size, because they are small little creatures, and we said, these are going to move around a lot easier if we have the puppeteer separate from them. And also we'll be able to get them, for Roo to be able to bounce up and down like that, like he does throughout the show. We really want to have the puppeteer to be separate from them so they could help spin him around and throw him up in the air. So we really looked at what each character needed to do in the show and what each character needed to do physically. And we looked at what each actor could do in terms of how they could move. And we found a nice balance in between the two.
So what are some of your favorite Winnie the Pooh characters? You can pick more than one.
I could pick more than one. Okay, good. I love them all, but thank you for letting me pick more than one. That's going to help. So my favorite Winnie the Pooh character, you brought him up earlier. My favorite Winnie the Pooh character is Roo. But all of the characters are so unique and have their own special qualities and are lovable in their own ways. Tigger is really, really funny and energetic. Winnie the Pooh is just, he's really, really caring. He's a really good friend. He just wants to help other people. Piglet is always concerned and looking out for his friends. Eeyore wants to make other people happy. So all of the characters are really, really special, and I love them all.
I think two of my personal favorites are Tigger and Eeyore, because
why?
Well, they've both been really funny. I love how Tigger is he's so energetic and he's funny, and I just love how he acts and everything. And Eeyore is he's cute and everything.
Eeyore is very cute. Doesn't he look very cuddly? We did want them to be big stuffed animals.
I remember when we were there, we were looking at the sofas or the stuffed animals you could buy, and all the Eeyore stuffed animals went boom, gone. I thought they
He's
were
very, very
selling
popular.
them, but when we got there, the whole shelf of Eeyores was empty. Yeah.
What can I say? People like Eeyore. I like Eeyore too.
I remember there's also many other like puppets in the show. Like there's different people like who can control, like there's frogs around, and people control like butterflies and flies. And like how did you like make all of those puppets? Like did you make those puppets?
Yes, we did. Yeah. So we made all the puppets you see in that show. Every puppet from start to finish. So not just Winnie the Pooh and all of his friends, but all of the different creatures you see around the 100-acre wood. So like the butterflies and the birds and the dragonflies and the fireflies, and also when you see the snowflakes fly through the show, all of those things, we made all of those puppets. So similar to how we designed the main cast of characters, so Winnie the Pooh and Piglet and Tigger, all those guys, we looked at what do we need these they are characters in a sense. What do we need the character of, the butterfly to do? How do we need this butterfly to interact with Winnie the Pooh? So we thought about that. We looked at different styles of puppetry. We tend to think of puppetry a lot of times just like moving your hand like this, but there are so many different other types of puppetry. Like, we use a lot of things just on sticks that we wave around in the air, like the butterflies. So we really looked at what types of puppetry can we use? What do these things need to do in the show? How do they have to interact with our other characters in the show? And then we kind of found where all of those different paths crossed paths and collided. And that's where we figured things out.
Is there a social media website online?
Yeah, so if you want to follow the show, you can go online to www.winniethepoohshow.com, and there you can get tickets to see the show. You can join the Pooh crew and sign up to get exclusive swag and rewards when you see the show multiple times. And then you can follow us on Instagram. We are at Winnie the Pooh Show there. So yeah, we're all over the place. Our show is going to end in New York City on January 30th, 2022. So you still have a few more weeks to go see it. And then we'll be opening up in Chicago at the Mercury Theater on March 15th, 2022. So this spring, and playing 13 weeks in Chicago. So from March to the middle of June. All of your favorite friends from the 100-acre woods. So Winnie the Pooh and Tigger and Piglet and Eeyore and Rabbit, Owl, they will all be traveling, making the trip in Christopher Robin's Red Wagon all the way from New York City, going all the way to Chicago. And they'll be there to sing songs and dance and to welcome you into the 100-acre wood just in Chicago.
Oh, I want to tell you one thing.
Please.
When I was younger, I found out the way to be my own Winnie the Pooh puppet. So his suit, what I would do is I would pretty much put my suit on and then I would walk around naked. And it was so funny. It was just so fun. And
I like that a lot. That sounds like fun. And you were doing puppetry. I mean, that's what puppetry is about. It's about, bring this inanimate thing to life. And you brought Pooh Bear to life with the way you were playing with him.
Well, Matthew, thank you so much for joining us today. And hopefully we'll get a chance to work with you in the future on other projects. Thanks for talking to us and have a very nice day.
Thank you, Juliet. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, thank you. This was really fun.
Thanks, Juliet. I had a lot of fun too.
Don't forget, Winnie the Pooh the musical is still playing in New York through the end of January 2022. Don't miss it. I'm Juliet, and thanks for watching. Bye!
Bye. See you later.
Happy Winnie the Pooh Day!